The Endangered Species Act, ESA, 16 U.S.C. Section 1531 etc. 1973, ensures conservation of threatened and endangered plants and animals and habitats they rely upon. The Endangered Species Act, ESA, in my eyes, is among the most well-known environmental laws because there are many listed protected species and numerous legal cases that shape actions that occur for this law. While the species are listed and delisted regularly to proffer an ever-evolving list of protected species, thousands of species are listed as endangered or threatened under the Endangered Species Act, ESA, in the United States. Smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. The Endangered Species Act was enacted in 1973 in the United States to protect and conserve endangered and threatened species and their habitats. ESA regulators that administered ESA requirements include U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, FWS, and the National Marine Fisheries Service, NMFS. The Endangered Species Act ongoingly lists species to protect them. Species and critical habitat designations are ever-evolving through ongoing assessments. Species are listed and delisted over time. The Endangered Species Act requires federal agencies to consult with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and/or National Marine Fisheries Service, NMFS, to ensure that actions they authorize, fund, or carry out are not likely to jeopardize the continued existence of any listed species or result in the destruction or adverse modification of designated critical habitat of species. The law prohibits any action that causes an unauthorized take of any listed species. In the context of the Endangered Species Act, ESA, a take refers to any action that harms, harasses, kills, or disturbs a listed species, or damages or destroys its habitat. The term take is broadly defined under the ESA to encompass a wide range of activities that may adversely affect protected species, including direct harm such as hunting, capturing, or killing individuals, as well as indirect harm such as habitat destruction, pollution, or disturbance. Under ESA, it is illegal to take any endangered species without a permit issued by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, FWS, or the National Marine Fisheries Service, NMFS. Permits may be issued for certain activities that involve take if they are deemed to enhance the conservation or recovery of the species and are conducted in accordance with specific conditions and guidelines. The prohibition on take is one of the key provisions of the ESA aimed at protecting and conserving endangered and threatened species and their habitats. By regulating activities that may harm protected species, the ESA helps prevent further declines in populations and promotes the recovery and survival of imperiled species for future generations. This likewise import, export, interstate, and foreign commerce of listed species are all generally prohibited. For example, FWS maintains a worldwide list of endangered species of birds, insects, fish, reptiles, mammals, crustaceans, flowers, grasses, trees, etc. that must be protected under ESA. Species are listed and delisted regularly based on many factors, and this is important because each has a great value to society. The listing process involves a rigorous scientific assessment conducted by the regulators, considering factors such as population size, distribution, habitat degradation, and threats to survival. Endangered species face potential for extinction, while threatened species are likely to become endangered in the foreseeable future. ESA also protects critical habitat that the listed species depend on. ESA requires permits for prohibited activities that impacts listed species or critical habitats. Regulators under the Endangered Species Act, ESA, such as the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, FWS, and the National Marine Fisheries Service, NMFS, may enter into Memoranda of Agreement, MOAs, and programmatic agreements with other federal agencies, states, tribes, and stakeholders to facilitate ESA compliance and conservation efforts. MOE stands for Memorandum of Agreement and is a formalized agreement between two or more parties outlining mutually agreed upon terms and conditions. Programmatic agreements for ESA are agreements developed between federal agencies and other entities, i.e. states, tribes, etc., to streamline more effective actions of ESA compliance specific to certain activities or programs. The Endangered Species Act is important because it serves as a critical legal framework for the conservation and recovery of endangered and threatened species and their habitats. It helps prevent extinction, promotes biodiversity conservation, and ensures the long-term health and resilience of ecosystems for future generations. Smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. The regulators maintain lists of species that are protected under the ESA. Species lists include bird species, terrestrial land-dwelling species, ocean-dwelling marine species, as well as others. The Endangered Species Act also places protections on habitats relied upon by these listed species. Without specific habitat characteristics, species would be less apt to survive or outwit predators. For example, having adequate shrubbery can affect a species' ability to survive against predators, thus actions to reduce the shrubbery would be regulated by ESA. Conservation of a species requires humankind to ensure the habitat for species is protected, but also ideally enhanced and grown to support an increase in species populations. It is important for Endangered Species Act, ESA, to protect habitats as well as individual species, because without the habitat, the species may be more apt to perish. Species rely on their habitat for their survival and success of their young. Under the ESA, critical habitat can be designated for a listed species. Critical habitat includes specific areas that are essential for the conservation of a listed species and may require special management actions or protection. Designating critical habitat helps a species' survivability and recovery by safeguarding the areas they need to thrive. ESA requires federal agencies ensure their actions do not jeopardize the existence of listed species or adversely modify their designated critical habitat. Smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. You may wonder why we list species to protect them under the Endangered Species Act. Can any species become listed? The answer is no. Humankind does not protect all species that become close to threatened, endangered, or near extinction. For example, humankind specifically designates certain species as invasive species and aim to control or reduce their population due to their negative impacts on habitats or society. In the United States, we have the National Invasive Species List for invasive species that is formed based on scientific assessments of harm or potential impacts on native ecosystems, biodiversity, agriculture, forestry, and other areas. Invasive species are non-native organisms that, when introduced to a new environment, cause harm to native species, ecosystems, or human interests. They can outcompete native species, disrupt ecological balance, and negatively impact agriculture, infrastructure, and human health. For example, the zebra mussel, Dreissena polymorpha, is considered an invasive species native to Eastern Europe that was unintentionally introduced to North America in the late 1980s through ballast water discharge from ships. The species would attach to the hull of the ships and travel from oceans all the way up rivers to highly disrupt freshwater ecosystems by outcompeting native species for resources. The species, even today, is controlled through the use of anti-fouling paint painted onto the ship hulls. Smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Anti-fouling paint prevents the species' transportation, but it does require maintenance and must be repainted regularly to ensure its effectiveness. An example of anti-fouling paint includes zinc oxide-based paint, biocides, silicone-based polymers, or copper-based paints that release copper ions into the water around the hull to create an inhospitable environment for fouling organisms. The anti-fouling paints are regulated because they are toxic and cause an environmental impact. Regulatory agencies such as the International Maritime Organization, IMO, establish guidelines and standards for the use of anti-fouling paints to protect marine ecosystems while still allowing for effective biofouling actions. Feel free to check out Level Up with Alyssa Mahan YouTube channel to level up your life in a more personalized way. See you there. For a species to be listed under ESA, it would need to positively play crucial ecological roles, contribute to ecosystem stability, and provide valuable ecosystem services such as pollination, seed dispersal, foster biodiversity, improve nutrient cycling, predator-prey population control, or other services. For example, ESA protects species like the American bald eagle, which regulate pest populations and enhance nutrient cycling. Green sea turtles improve ecosystem health by supporting biodiversity and grazing on seagrass. The gray wolf is a keystone predator that regulates prey populations and shapes ecosystems. The Florida manatee influences vegetation dynamics, nutrient cycling, and sediment dispersion within their habitats. The red-cockaded woodpecker creates cavities in mature pine trees that other wildlife species use for their survival and foster forest regenerative outcomes. ESA-listed species often provide priceless value to humankind. Biodiversity on Earth is extremely important. Humans can unknowingly let the cure to cancer or other diseases go extinct when we let species go extinct. Everyday species globally go extinct. The Amazon rainforest harbors incredibly high biodiversity, but also species losses due to deforestation. Humankind must step in and take actions to stop the extinction of potentially valuable species. A species can significantly impact lives or the world. Species provide ecosystem services and have an ecological value. The Endangered Species Act is vital to society, and its effective implementation has irreversible impacts on biodiversity conservation, ecosystems, economic prosperity, as well as health and safety of mankind. Humans ethically can protect species, so we must take actions to do so. Smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. We all need to do more to protect the ESA-listed species and habitats, but also do more assessments to ensure species are not lost without notice or care. We must do more to protect species globally. Species are lost all the time, and humankind can save them. If you have never seen the Ender's Game movies, I recommend them because they explain the value of a life. A species can have tremendous unrealized value. The main character sees this value by the end. Comment below. Do you like the Endangered Species Act? Do you agree that it is important to protect species and their habitats? Are there species or habitats that you worry about in your area? What examples of ESA case law or species protections have you seen so far in your life? Please do like, share, subscribe, and comment below to help support this channel and help me succeed so I can post more videos for you. Thank you all for joining me. Talk to you soon on the next one. Click on the on-screen images to subscribe and watch more videos.